2nd of December. Who would have thunk it? December already. And yes, thank you for everybody for coming in a day early. I know it throws people off, but I've got to go and today's the last day of school for my number 2 son.
Already?
I know.
Yeah.
It appears I have now learnt this very interesting fact that the more school fees you pay, the less school they seem to attend, I've decided.
Yeah.
So in order to maintain sibling peace and tranquility in the home, because the older brother doesn't finish, they're both at different high schools, people. So this is
it's healthier that way. Trust me.
It's much. It is the best thing, much healthier that way. But the older one doesn't finish school until this time next week. So yes. Number 2 is being shipped off to grandparents up the road in Gisborne tomorrow. So I need to do the halfway handover. Not quite. Well, actually, it is on the side of the road. We drive up to Wairoa and we meet for lunch and we have a picnic lunch on the side of the road, and then I will throw the child out.
That is unbelievably adorable.
I know.
I honestly can't handle it.
Yeah, so that's where Hugo is heading. So that's why we are here today. And you are balling some yarn, and it is. You and I haven't had a proper catch up for ages.
I know.
I know. It seems like,
and yet we both managed to wear yoke sweaters today.
I know. It's cold, and Deborah was saying just before you jumped on, her and I were having a quick catch up because it's been wet down there. It's been rainy, wet, and cold
miserable.
Here. It's just been in this morning. The balmy high today, I think, is about 17 or 18 degrees. And to be fair, when I got to work just after 7, it was like 10, and I was so rocking out. I thought the gold wing was away for the rest of the season, but obviously not.
Well, I've been pretty much living in my Agnes, but I left it at the shop yesterday and went home wearing my 7Ts cardigan instead. The problem with having 9 million jerseys and cardigans, everyone, is that you actually lose track of which one you've worn recently.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I tend to get into a bit of a jersey rut where I'll finish one and then it becomes the favorite jersey of the moment. And that's all I wear for a month.
See, I don't have that quite so much, but what I have is because so much of what I knit is also a sample for the store, that I will get to wear it once or twice. It goes on display in the store, or I'll forget where I've put it.
Yeah.
And it's well, is it at the shop? Is it here? Is it at home? Is it
in the office? Is
it in the office? Exactly. Yeah. So I have a lot of that going on too. Speaking of things that I'm knitting,
Ooh.
I know. So of course I had this quite determination on Monday. I was saying to everybody I wanted to have this completed and ready. Yeah. So I'm nearly there, but you're gonna love the excuse. So I did manage to get some knitted last night, but my afternoon knitting that I had all set and planned for yesterday afternoon got thrown out of the window because my life yesterday turned into a UB40 song. There was a rat in the kitchen and I didn't know what to do. I know. Honestly, so just to fill everybody in, I mentioned when we had the floods here, nearly 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah, which was terrifying.
We had the floods, and our street got very badly flooded. So about 1 house in 3 is a number of them in our portion where we are in the street. The bottom half of the street got hit really badly, and at the moment we've got about 1 in 3 people are not habitable, or not in their dwellings because they've been flooded out. So
oh my gosh,
we're on a back section, so that's what saved our bacon, because we were at the back and the water came halfway up our driveway, but we're in a back section, old villa, which of course is raised up on quite high piles, so we were all right. But we were also very, very close to the coast. And one of the things and I might have actually mentioned it in a previous diaries, but one of the nice things about the neighbourhood that we live in, not so nice, is that, of course, they've done a lot of renovation work out on the seawall and all the rest of it. And, of course, there's lots of rodents that live around our hood. And so a lot of us in the neighbourhood, we will have bait stations and things like that, just because you just have to. It's just... nature of the beast of living where we do. Well, it appeared that whilst we were so lucky and we didn't get flooded, it appeared that we became the evacuation station for everything rodent during the floods.
Oh, that's a treat. Mhm.
So, needless to say, once this discovery was made, and I was madly making sleepless night 2 nights ago, and I'm trying to track people down, like visions of not being able to get anybody to give me a hand. It was all under our kitchen island, and I'm thinking, I've got our kickboards. Our kitchen island is sort of 12 years old, and the kickboards are actually affixed. They're not removable. You actually have to.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what
Cut
you
them
mean.
out, yeah. And so the kitchen place, bless their heart, said, "Look, we can't get someone to you, but this is how you can get them out." And so my dear blessed neighbour, who's a builder, so Mr. Badger came down, and I said to Badger, "Can I borrow your renovator tool? I need to attack my kickboard so I can get in to clean up what I could see was rodent accommodation under there." And I was just and so next minute, him and I, renovator tools, kickboards off, brooms, spades, and one very, very red, dead cat-sized rat. Like,
that's horrifying.
It was horrifying. And so, of course, that was several hours. That was my knitting time yesterday afternoon, was dealing with the rat in the kitchen. So I'm now pleased to report the rat in the kitchen is now completely gone. Even the rat man was round. We have more baits laid. We've got snap traps everywhere. I've had a stern talking to the dogs.
Yeah, like, come on. Where was Red in this?
And we bought a kitten yesterday.
Okay, that might be like buying a cat just to try to deal with rats might be a bit of an overreaction.
Well, to be fair, so for those who are thinking, oh gosh, yes, Marie has been in cat ownership. In fact, we lost our cat just over a year ago. Our cat was 17 when she passed, and we've only had this issue since the cat has gone across the Rainbow Bridge. And the rat man tells me that apparently, because they're very clever, these rats. I didn't realize rats were quite so clever. And
that's part of the problem.
Yes, and he tells me that if you have a cat there, so this is a hint for you, everybody, apparently they won't, if you've got cats, that is one of the main deterrents, a bit like burglars and dogs. So, yes, so we decided, right, it's time to get back into feline ownership. So that we made that decision yesterday. So we're getting a kitty cat for Christmas. That's our family Christmas present. So there we go.
There's nothing better than introducing an indifferent creature that will refuse to return your love into your life.
Absolutely. And that's okay. It's I am sure that this feline will rule the roost. We've gone with a breed. Janet's saying my cats are always scared of rats. That doesn't help, Janet.
Janet. That's not the outcome we're looking for.
No, we've gone for one that is supposed to be a fantastic hunters, and we've also picked a breed that is apparently copes very well with dogs, because for those that don't know, I have two world's laziest dogs, but I do have 2 dogs. So
I mean, the good news is the one of them is so small, like practically a pocket dog.
Well, yeah. If 28 kilos of solid bulldog muscle counts as pocket dog, yeah. Right. So the good news. So last night, once I was recovering,
hopefully with a glass of Chardonnay.
It was Pinot Noir, actually. Pinot Noir from Rat Apocalypse. 2 glasses it took, 2 very large glasses, just to sort of get the equilibrium back.
That's understandable.
But I did get this. So I'm now literally onto the cuff portion here.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, which I kind of was hoping that I would have finished last night. So here's the other side.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Nice little cup. So, and I think I'm going to burgle it. Now, I do have other skeins, but I just don't want to wind one off.
No, I feel you.
Yeah. So the Rebel is going great, and so many Rebels have been popped up. They have just looked fantastic, and in everything, like that's what I can't get over is just what I've really enjoyed with you guys with this knit along. Thank you so much for this. Is the variety of yarns that have been used, because it's such a great way to see how yarns will work with the design is when you do a knit along like this, because you get people's interpretation. A number of people have done what we've done, and they've done their Rebel in this high twist merino, and either in a whole heap in Sock Bandit.
Which, I mean, our Sock Bandit one is amazing. Katie's version of it is absolutely spectacular. Because we had ours done up in this scamp, so the orange leaning of our our sprinkle options, and I love big swaths of plain stockinette, especially for loud yarns, and we combine them with a simple shape, but a simple shape that actually is going to fit the human body. Because, like, let's all be honest, Libby actually designs things you can wear. You know, there are. I'm kind of the king of knitting things that aren't particularly wearable by normal human standards. And you've seen my Hearst, the turtleneck with the raglans that doesn't have any sides. It's the world's most useless garment. I wear it all the time, everyone. But there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there. So I'm glad to see people playing with loud yarns and doing it in a way that's going to make them love the final product.
Oh, absolutely. And I've just loved it. I've loved seeing all the different interpretations that people have had with this Rebel. It has been an absolute joy. There have been a couple that have cropped up in Bohemia Sport, and also the other one I've seen in real life is one using actually the Waikiwi sock, which we've got some clearance here of at the moment. But again, both of them are a little bit 10% possum. And
nice little hint of fluff.
Oh, beautiful. Just an absolute gentle halo. And I just know with this Rebel, I will actually probably wear this a lot across the summer, because, you know, beginning and ends of the day, it will just pop over. It's going to look fantastic. Sue Goodley, who dyed this for me, you know, she's got what I've done is she's added little hints of dark bronze shades, almost black, almost navy. So I can wear this over the top of a black dress or a navy dress, and it will just work. And so I'm really, really delighted with that. So I'm hoping on Monday when I see everybody, I'll be wearing it. So that is the plan for that. I'm going to get rid of a quick bit of housekeeping while I'm here before I launch into the next part. Is with homegrown. So homegrown was our theme for November. We've now rolled that out. Our theme for December, January, and I'll get a tile up for that today. Write myself down a list, Marie. Is Stitch and Summer, which is what our promotion is for the 2 months. So nice and simple. I just want to see what you're making over the warmer weather. It turns up. But I ran the randomizer over the thing, and our winner for the $100 voucher is Marina, and I'm going to probably butcher your name, Marina, and I'm so sorry, but I think it's Marina Yurashak. And she has won that $100 voucher. So I will be in touch with you, Marina. Thank you so much for that. And I think from memory, it was a shawl. It was her beautiful post that popped up, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So congratulations on that. And now, what are you winding off there, my young friend?
I am just winding up a little ball of some Natural Rebel to finish up a quick gift knit that I have been working on. I sometimes like to do the body of a jersey, the body of a cardigan in a yarn held single, and then do the collar and button band in yarn held double, a lighter weight held double, because it gives a lot more stiffness and resiliency to the final garment. And cardigans tend to wear out first at the button band, which I think isn't something people are aware of, but they take a lot of stress. So instead of doing it in the slightly softer, squishier Corriedale blend that I had, Rebel, which has that beautiful New Zealand half-bred in it, which is such a durable yarn, but combined with the merino, is just making a perfectly durable button band. So we have lots of Rebel fleece and forage in, obviously, and as per usual, without consulting one another, you and I have knit similar but different projects. So we both went with garter trimmed drop shoulders, which, I mean, hey, guys, if it's trending in New Zealand, it's because Marie and I are both knitting it.
Now, back the track up, though, for those who in the world that don't catch up with Breakfast Bourbon, explain to people what Rebel are, because Rebel is something that you guys are doing exclusively at Outlaw
Yeah,
HQ.
so Rebel is exclusive to us here at Outlaw. We have our first collection of it in, which was naturally dyed by Doe Arnott down in Oamaru. Doe Spins, for those of you who don't know her. So Rebel is a beautiful 80-20 mix, 80% merino, 20% New Zealand half-bred. It's woolen spun. This is the naturally dyed indigo, indigo medium, lot number A, which has this beautiful, soft variegation to it, lots of tonality. You're going to get a lot of variation when it comes to naturally dyed yarns, and some of it might come off on your hands. Don't worry, it comes off with soap and water, and it doesn't run when you block it. Now, it is dyed on top of this natural base. So this is the natural shade that comes out. This is one of 2 natural colors that we have for Rebel. So there was actually a slight hiccup when the yarn was manufactured, and our first batch came in 80% New Zealand half-bred, 20% merino.
I just want to say we did not manufacture this yarn, so the hiccup was not ours.
Just to be clear, no, this is more of a Design Spun has dug us out of the hiccup. I just want to be clear with everyone at home. Without them, you would not be getting more Rebel before Christmas. So when you get your Rebel, say a brief prayer of thanks to Peter and Marie, because without them, oh boy, that would have been a situation. Can you imagine me trying to dye 150 kgs? Like I'd lie on the floor and give up. I don't dye yarn for a reason. I'm bad at it. I've tried. I mean, who hasn't though, right? Like we've all broken out.
This is why the beautiful thing too, I mean, the colors from Doe are just
I mean, they are
amazing,
sublime, and there's no bad way to combine them.
Yeah.
The thing about natural dyeing that's so unique is any 2 shades of naturally dyed yarn, when they're on the same base, go together. It's magical. It defies all logic of color rules that we know before. But it makes me think, if any of you have seen older tapestries from the mid 18th century and older before on display anywhere, you'll look at some of the colors used in them and think, wow, that could be quite garish normally, but because they're all naturally dyed from that time period, it just harmonizes a lot like these little beauties do.
Well, and I think it's because you're taking the colors from nature.
Exactly. And they're all produced in a slightly different way. So there are some here. So this is lac, which normally comes out much more wine toned, but somehow through witchcraft and magical powers that she has, Doe has managed to achieve this beautiful, rich, sublime crimson.
I know she plays around a lot with the different mordants, because I think the colors can alter depending on what mordant you use. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have a fair amount of experience working with natural dyed yarns as a knitter and as a knitting shop employee, because I used to sell quite a bit of naturally dyed yarn. But I've experienced nothing like how Doe does it.
Yeah, she's a world leader in it. I mean, no one manages to achieve what she can achieve. It's quite incredible.
I 100% agree with that. Now, I had my Rebel a little earlier than everyone else. And so I decided to sprint through a jersey by one.
Yes, I'd love to see this, because I only saw the beginnings of this.
So this is Agnes by Jared Flood.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, it's basically a knitted sweatshirt or a hemlock tee. Now, it has that lovely drop shoulder that is so flattering on so many bodies. It has garter stitch cuffs and garter stitch hems. So there's no trickiness to this whatsoever. It has some of the most incredible, let me see if I can angle this properly. There we go.
Oh, some nice neck shaping.
Yeah, the neck shaping on this is second to none. It's fashion double decreases, which might seem scary, but are easy to work. There are approximately 12 short rows in each shoulder for all of the sizes. But apart from that, there's nothing to this pattern. And I have been banned, as you well know, from saying that things are easy. So instead, I'm going to come up and say that this was a simple knit with a huge effect. It actually shares a lot of the same DNA as Rebel Rebel.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's make a window for my head. It shares a lot of the same DNA as Rebel Rebel.
Yeah.
So if you are someone who knows that you love a casual, basic staple that goes into your wardrobe, I absolutely 100% recommend pulling up an Agnes. It takes 3 colors.
So Agnes?
Agnes by Jared Flood, yes.
Okay. Okay, so one of my lovely people that are in there, can you guys pull that up? Agnes for Jared Float and find. They're so good. I don't need to do it. They do it for me now. If you pull it up on and pop the link in the thing, that's brilliant. So did he do that color blocking on the pattern, or have you done the color blocking?
So no, he includes the color blocking instructions. My favorite part about this is if you're doing a knit along, which we are running a very casual Agnes knit along in Breakfast Bourbon, is that there's 4 sweaters technically included in one pattern. So there are 2 sleeve options. There is the slim sleeve, which I went with here, which is not tight. It's just slightly fitted. There is a classic sleeve, which is a little bit wider. So for those of you who know that they experience tightness occasionally with a drop shoulder around the upper bicep, the standard sleeve is a little bit more open. And there are 2 color blocking options. So this is color blocking version 1 with the sim sleeve and a collar modification by a Brooklyn Tweed employee that I happen to know exists. And so I stole it and used it for myself as well. So I just, instead of doing the rolled collar, because a rolled collar is just not who I am emotionally, and I can't resist modifying something to make it perfect, I did a 2x2 rib, just roughly 12 rows of ribbing on a slightly larger than normal needle. I only went down to a 3.75 millimeter because I like a soft neck when the jersey already has lots of structure. And then I just did, surprising no one, a 2x2 tubular bind off, which,
of course,
you know, unbeatable. It's a great little fit. The nice part about this is it's a layering piece. So if you're someone like me who tends to wear more than one hand knit at a time, this is a perfect option. And if you are a sewist at all, for those of you at home, there's a pattern called the hemlock tee that I am not particularly familiar with, but I have it on good authority from several sewists in my life that this pattern basically is a knit hemlock tee.
Okay.
So if you like that classic sweatshirty knockabout look, I absolutely recommend this. And the nice part about it is because there are thoughtful details in the way that the body is shaped, it's slightly A-line, and it has that drop shoulder combined with really excellent neck shaping that doesn't bring it up as high as this neck at all. It sits slightly more open. I think this is actually the perfect pattern for everybody. It has a really inclusive size range, and it can be styled with a lot of ease or no ease. It just depends on what you're going to like.
So you and I have had one of those really creepy moments. So just in case people know, Ethan and I only got on live together to have a quick catch up, like less than 3 minutes before we went live. So none of this, we wing it when we get together.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to pull this here so we can double screen again, because we've got Stitch and Summer as our theme, right, for Speakeasy, but I kind of thought it would be really cool to have, instead of a fixed knit on a fixed item, a bit of a challenge. And because you and I are the masters of modifications, right? We're always modifying stuff to what we want. But there's modification, and I'm seeing it more and more often in the Speakeasy. People are feeling really brave. Changing things around and adding cables and colours and stripes and doing stuff that's really amazing. And that pattern, that Agnes, is a pattern that you could do anything with the colour. I mean, it is like a blank template. And this was another one, Southwood, is another one I pulled up. And I think this is a freebie, and this is by the Galt House of Yarn.
Okay.
And it's a complete freebie. And my thought was, I'm going to do a little bit of information about this, but just as a separate piece of fun, if you're looking for something to do across the summer, essentially a design slash modification challenge, taking a pattern that you either have in your library or stash, something like that, and going, well, this is fine how it is, but how can I make it
mine?
So I just think that will be so much fun, whether it's adding like crazy color, putting some color work in there, throwing in textured stitching. I mean, I don't care. The one pattern I see this happen a lot with is Milo, which is a little kid's singlet. And that's a great one. Lots of you I know play around with that, but supersize it.
Play something big. I think that one of the best things about this, and we talk about this a lot, is that if you make a mistake, doing your own modification, you're often a lot easier on yourself. It's a lot easier to forgive and forget and move on or try it again.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about rescue lines the last time we were together, different tricks for putting them in. Go back and watch that video so I don't have to repeat myself, everyone. So I think that it's one of those great things. Now, I mean, I'm a little bit of an overconfident knitter. Like, I definitely kind of just throw myself over the ledge a lot. And I'm like, this will work out. And spoiler alert, it does frequently because I'm a monster. But I regularly just make modifications on the fly these days. Like, there's not, when I used to do it, it used to be a lot of planning. Like, I would sit and look at a garment and I would email the designer. Full disclosure, there is definitely some poor person at Brooklyn Tweed who just has an inbox full of my old emails being like, so your pattern says it's going to be 18.25 inches and my arms are 18.75 inches. What do I do? And luckily, some people with a lot of patience helped me out back then and told me what to do. And then eventually you just kind of internalize the information. The first few times that you make your own modifications to a pattern, it's definitely a little jarring and a little risk-inducing. But as soon as you're used to doing it, it's so easy. And then you just keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah. And you find, and there are, as you said, there are modifications that you do for yourself all the time. So there are certain hemlines that I do, so Rebel, this will be a classic case for this Rebel, right?
Yeah.
So with this Rebel, when I got to the sleeves and picked up for the sleeve, the size that I knitted it, when I picked up for the sleeve, I actually picked up to a smaller size because I wanted a slightly more fitted sleeve and less kimono. Yeah. So I picked up 2 sizes back. And then when I got down, as I was checking the length as I was going and got down to sort of down here, I actually modified in terms of where the decreases were, checked the length there. And what I have at the tip is actually even... I think even bounced back to where I was. I think this portion here, the cuff, is for the size that I'm knitting, but the actual main sleeve is slightly smaller. And you think, well, why would you do that? And it's just because that's the shape that I wanted. I wanted it slightly narrow, not quite as tapered, and it would, I mean, as long as you scribble stuff down and don't drink too much, you should be.
Yeah. If you have to make 2, definitely write it down.
Yeah. It's great. Katie's just saying the rescue lines tip was brilliant. I'm using it for every repeat on a lace shawl that's making it. Saves so much messing around threading it through with a needle. I know. Wasn't that such a good idea? Thank you. If you don't know what we're talking about, I think it was a couple of months ago we talked about in the video that we did first of the month, Ethan talked about lifelines using another piece of fine thread, or even I think dental floss is the other one I've seen.
Dental floss, yeah. And you just at the bottom of the needle. But also go back and rewatch us because we're fantastic and we only get this once a month.
So you held up those Rebel colors before.
Yeah.
And the one pattern that, of course, is super hot right now, and I'm going to see, I've actually printed it out, so we'll do it this way.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Is, of course...
Oh, yes, Mr. West.
Mr. West, the mystery knit along.
So
actually, God. Stay there. You talk to the people, and I'm going to get our one here in the store.
Oh, perfect. Oh, my goodness. You already have one. That's amazing. So Stephen, to me, really came out swinging with this mystery knit along, everyone. I have been a big fan of several of the mystery knit along shawls. For those of you who follow along with us on Breakfast Bourbon, you know I've made a Starflake shawl, which was last year's mystery knit along. He really seems to be into this whole slip stitch motif right now, which I can get on board with. The shape of this new mystery knit along shawl is actually wearable, which doesn't always happen. Hello, Speckle and Pop. And I'm just really excited by the possibilities of color play. I've seen a few come into the shop that have been really beautiful. It's also a great chance to play with texture if you haven't had the opportunity. And because it's modular, like most Stephen West things, you can kind of break it up and knit it one chunk at a time. So I can't wait to see the version that already looks exciting to me.
Okay, so this is the version that Kirsty did. She had some yarn she wanted to use up. And she wanted a very soft pastel version.
Yeah.
And you may actually recognize one of those ones in there is a baby bandit.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So so we've got Paris Peach, which is our merino soft. We've got white. We've got and I can't remember what that beautiful color is in Baby Bandit. And the silver was one that she had from Stash, but it was a color that's very, very similar to, I mean, that soft gray you can get, well, again, you could get that in Baby Bandit, but
Hush.
yeah. So hers is absolute, and she loved, as you said, she loved knitting it. She loved the modulation nature of it. She really thoroughly enjoyed it, and she said it was a very addictive thing to knit. She said you'd sort of, the next clue would come out and you were really wanting to do it. And then, of course, I saw this image this morning.
Which I genuinely love. I think it's some of his best work.
Oh, yeah, because some of these mystery knit-alongs can be a bit...
Oh, I already talked about Speckle and Popple. You were gone. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, good. But see, look at this. See, look, I mean, hello.
Oh, yeah, that would be fantastic. And those are all
Baby Bandit.
Yeah.
All Baby Bandit. So if you're wanting to emulate that incredible one there from Stephen, boom.
We have talent for you.
Right here. You know, and that is Sunshine, Serenity, Scallywag, and Innocence. But the beautiful thing about that is that you would just, I mean, you'd have these three, and then whatever your pop of color is.
No, totally.
You just add your pop. It's as simple as that, you know. It's, you know, it's and that's
smartest designs. Like, I mean, so like for everyone who follows Stephen West, he puts out a lot of patterns every year. This last 16 months or so has been like Stephen West on overdrive, though. Like there used to be a group of knitters that are, I think, Icelandic, who used to, as a group, knit every single one of his patterns. Barbar Knits, I think, is the like ringleader of that little troupe. I don't think there's a way to keep up with that anymore. I could be wrong. But, you know, his Bubbles and Brioche, the Painting Brick Shawl, and this one, and Starflake from last year's Mystery Knit Along, to me, really are just some stellar examples of what you can do. And of course, if any of you are lucky enough to have the issue of Pom Pom that just came out, his Kinship Shawl with Olga, Buria Khalifian. Olga, if you're watching, you're not, but I'm sorry. I've knit too many of your patterns to not be able to pronounce your name. But yeah, I love it. I think it's perfect. I think it's a beautiful palette. The nice part about this shawl to me is that because there are so many pieces to it, it means that you can break it up. You can use little bits out of your stash. You can buy like 3 main solid neutral colors and just put endless amounts of color pops in. Now, be warned, as with all Stephen projects, the temptation to use mohair is strong. But
just while we're on a woolen spun jag, these are Possum Silk Merino, and that's the base color there, which is, and so the base color is almost identical to our go this way, identical to our Rocky Shore that was in our Black Pearl.
Okay, yeah.
And so what we did is we threw the Black Pearl colors over the top because, and this isn't a 4-ply, so whereas of course Black Pearl's a bouquet if you love those colors. So we threw the Black Pearl colors over the top. See.
Yeah.
All on that natural base.
Those are stunning.
The one color that we did also throw in there is that orange.
So what you're saying to everyone at home is to buy one of each of these and get ready for a slip strip extravaganza joy fest.
Well, that's just it. I mean, there's 4 colors that you need for that shawl. And that's the beautiful thing. I mean, there's 4 there, or you'd go, if you wanted the orange instead, there's, you know, 4 there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as long as you've got that contrast.
Yes. I love it. I'm sold.
Yeah, so those will be definite. And I think the date I've got down for them is something, it's either the 8th or the 10th next week, but they are definitely coming next week for sure. So yes, I'm really, really excited about those 100-gram skeins. Beautiful.
If I was going to be adding texture to my slip strip extravaganza, I would be tempted by some of your clearance yarn, the overseas clearance that you have still lingering there.
Yes.
I would definitely be picking up some of that lollipop pink in the brush Surrey and using that as my texture instead. Because the nice part about that, which I've worked with extensively, by the way, everyone, the nice part about that yarn is that it doesn't shed.
No, it's
So
beautiful.
you
And
can
it is
hit that mother up and it'll just be like,
And it is really, it's quite plushy soft to
yeah,
that alpaca as opposed to mohair, which is quite a different sort of soft.
yeah.
It is, oh
Mm,
yeah, it's quite beautiful. And it
oh
really
yeah.
does add that extra zing
And you
into
have
a
that earth
project.
tone with the sweet potato. You have that dark, dark black, which is like problematic.
Yeah, I know Deb has been eyeing that black up and she's sort of like,
Yeah, it's one of those things where both her and I kind of stare at each other over the table at least once a week and are like, so like, how much do we need for a garment? But I think we get away with just using it as a pop. That sweet potato would be fantastic with an earthier palette. The lollipop pink kind of goes with anything because, as Stephen would say, neon is a neutral.
And also with that 4-ply as well, if you picked up either the Imperial, which was the cashmere mohair, which again there was some pops of colour in there, and also the Bluebell, which was the superfine kid, but with the sequins, that's just it again. You don't need very much, but just enough to give it that absolute lift. And there are still a little bits and pieces of those left, and you'd only need a couple of balls to actually complete the project to give it just that extra.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So don't be afraid. And I think what we're saying here is it's like the modifications we're talking about. Don't be afraid. I think often, and I've seen this more often and I don't know whether it's because of the where we're at the moment or people are taking the safe path often with their knitting. And, actually sometimes it's when you go off-road that you get the greatest joy and success, and you just need to throw caution to the wind. And you know what? If you hate it, if you truly hate it and it doesn't work out, I mean, it's not going to go off, people. You just unravel that sucker and you try something new. I mean, it's not the end of the world. But sometimes I think it's really good to just throw it to the wind and see what sticks.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that camp these days. I've definitely just been being a lot more playful with my knitting, not really focusing so much on, as someone who's a finished object knitter, which I am, like I'm in it for the stuff, let's be clear.
Yeah.
But giving myself the freedom to just play around and have a good time and knit things that I actually enjoy has been great. It has been kind of a year of just knitting things that I enjoy. It's turned out this Adelaide, which I wear all the time. It brought Agnes into my life, which is a long-term queue project, actually. And it has inspired me to do something a little risky for next year. As you know, I knit Yishu, which is from the same collection as Agnes, earlier in the year. And I am going to be knitting through that entire collection.
Now the issue for the ones for people are the two-toned one and the little bandit. So it was in the dark navy and
the cream, yes, Intrepid and Curiosity.
Yeah, it just very geometric, very classic, gorgeous.
I love it. So Brooklyn Tweed's Winter 2015 collection is the first collection where Nora Gone joined the team, and it's their first conceptual collection. So normally every year there are a lot of different approaches to design. Let's be clear. Brooklyn Tweed, historically, they are no longer doing this, unfortunately, but they used to do a traditional collection and then a conceptual collection. So the traditional collection would be based on, color work motifs or something like that. And then the conceptual collection would be, the Shapes of Portland was the most recent one, called Bridge City, which had a whole bunch of different, railway ideas and stuff like that in it, right?
Oh, so it wasn't Burn Baby Burn. Or did I say that out loud?
No. Woo! Shots fired.
Oh no, I feel sorry for Portland. I really do.
Portland is a difficult place. Having been there, it's a confusing city, both in geography and in makeup. There's a lot of let's just say
yes. But the rest of Oregon is stunningly beautiful.
I love Oregon.
Oregon's gorgeous.
Yeah, because you can kind of just get lost and turn up in a small town, and someone there will just let you sleep in their house. It's a very confusing place.
That whole part of the country is beautiful.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest forever.
Anyway, back to conceptual collection. Sorry.
Conceptual collections. So winter 2015 is the first big conceptual collection, arguably one of the only big conceptual collections in knitwear design that's ever happened. And it was based off of a private tour of the Met Museum in New York City, which is where Brooklyn Tweed used to be headquartered. So everyone's pieces are taken from all these random bits and pieces. And the Met is arguably the most eclectic museum in the world. There is photography and sculpture and medieval art and historical pieces. It's a fabulous place stuck in New York City, which is awful for it, but great for the people who live there. I avoid New York like the plague. If no one knows this about me, it's like Ethan's top 5 least favorite destinations in the whole world. But so I'm going to knit every single piece from the whole collection.
Yes, you can.
Because you can. And like, I think it's about just having some fun. Like, why not set yourself a ridiculous challenge that you've never thought of before and just see what happens? Am I going to like every piece from it? Possibly not. But
So
it doesn't mean I have to knit it for myself either.
So the challenge that I've sort of gotten for myself over the summer is, as I mentioned before, like the modifications. So the incognitos that we've bought you, and actually I should have grabbed some, I didn't think to grab them. We've got the new 4-ply that is out with it from the American mill, grown, spun, and dyed. And we've also got a 5-ply in that range as well, which is coming. We're just sort of eking them out. Doing each sort of ply as we go. But in the 5-ply in that range, which is to come, hopefully later in the month, I also have a lot of that in its branded real life in a variety of different colors. And the beautiful thing, as you've probably seen by the colors that we've already put up, they're very, very tonal. The color work that has been done by this company to create the palette for its range has been beautiful. It's one of the, I think, the great strengths of it. And I have about 5 or 6 colors, yes, because you actually know what it is, 5 or 6 colors of it at home, which I had in stash, and I've actually brought that stash into the office here. And my challenge is that I'm wanting to knit something, and I'm thinking about potentially that sweater, the Southwark sweater that I've just shown you, or I may even do another Rebel. I haven't quite decided yet, but what I'm wanting to do is some crazy color work with all of the colors that I've got, plus a couple of the other colors that we've got with the incognito range, and just do something really like.
Can I throw a wrench into that plan?
Can you do what's that plan?
Can I make a suggestion?
Go on.
So I saw on my Instagram feed this morning while I was lying in bed listlessly scrolling that a certain colorwork genius has an interview out with Fruity Knitting today.
Oh.
And by colorwork genius, I think there's about 5 people in this world who are actual colorwork geniuses. Other people just happen to do colorwork motifs. But Marie Wallen.
Oh, okay.
I think you could really rock one of the Marie Wallen pieces. And if you've got enough colors, I mean. Yeah,
but do remember I tend to consume quite a large amount of alcohol across the summer, Ethan, and Marie definitely falls into the more sober knitting. I mean, if you've ever seen a Marie Wallen, they are like epic designs. I'll have to check that out though.
I think you could do it. Either that or maybe think about a Fox Thoughts pullover.
Yeah, well, something I'm even playing around with. I've got a particular stitch that I really like, a tessellated sort of colorwork stitch, which is kind of really crazy and has almost this 3D sort of effect, which I've done. I used it in Harding Road, the hat, and I've done the cowl, which of course I still haven't sent to you for tech editing.
It's fine.
And I know, sorry.
We'll get there eventually.
We'll get there eventually. It's on the round to it plan. But I'm thinking that I might take that stitch pattern because I just really love it. But it's one that if you actually played around with color more, like it uses 3 colors. But what happened if I had those 3 colors and sort of did a whole shifty Andrea Mowry style,
over something like the body of a rebel, that would be really cool.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. Is sort of applying that theory over a sort of a big stage of something. So that's the rough thinking at this stage. I mean, of course, it could all go out the window after a couple of drinks, and who knows? But
with us, never, not even once.
No, so it's just something fun, just having a bit of a play around and going on a wee bit of a journey with it and see where it goes. And it's one of the things that I love. I know Stephen Berg says this to me all the time. He's a great master, as he said, as you get a shape and a color and an idea. And he said it's like when you go on a car journey. He said you don't just get in the car and go from point A to point B and don't stop anywhere and have a look or buy a coffee or what have you. He said do the same with your knitting. Stop somewhere and you might end up in a different direction or do a different thing or change your mind. And I think that's what I want to do with this. So I've got them all
fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the only one who's sitting here sometimes being like, wow, knitting should be fun. Like, we should be having a good time.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I have to admit, I did see a post up from Deb the other day. Tell me about this crochet challenge that you have set her.
Oh, okay. So,
because I think we might need to keep her to it, you see.
No, we're definitely holding her to it. So I can barely crochet, everyone. Like, enough for a provisional cast on, or like I can make a granny square. But I have recently decided for the shop that one of the big things that we should be doing as a fiber community is making crocheters feel more welcome, because I think that a lot of yarn shops are very knit focused. And I know for a fact that you're not necessarily knit focused as a person. And that
in fact, one of our girls that we employ is actually a crocheter, not a knitter. So
exactly.
she's doing it in reverse. She's actually having to really learn how to knit more expansively, because crochet is her first. First love,
so I'm trying to bring everyone in on the crochet, and my idea of how to do this is to make aspirational crochet projects. Now, of course, I can't crochet. So what I've been doing instead is finding these giant intricate blankets that I really, really like, and then asking Deb to make them. So Deb is going to make one really intricate blanket, either modularly because it's the summer and she doesn't want a big one on her lap, which I can understand, even though we have aircon here at work and at home. And I found a ludicrous modular blanket. Or she's also found these really incredible textural things that you can do with crochet that genuinely would never have occurred to me. And for any crocheters watching who are like, come on, Ethan, guys, look, I can pick up a hook. I'm doing my best here. But I've set up the challenge of, before the end of the summer, a new blanket sample for the shop. And as you know, we have some fun new bandit colors on their way, which I really, really think will excite crocheters, because I've learned a lot about what you can do with crochet over the last little bit. And I think there's just so much more opportunity in crochet than there used to be, because people are doing these incredible things. We have a knit group member who's doing a crochet along by, I think it's Shepya's, and it's based on a natural history museum. So you start at the center, and as you follow each piece of the blanket outwards, it actually takes you on a tour of the museum itself.
Wow.
Which, it's so cool. There's just there are things that you just can't do with knitting that you can do with crochet.
And you can also, one of the things I've seen with crochet as well is that, particularly with those blankets, is going from a basic lesson to something like wow is really doable in a short space of time. So I had a woman who's actually part of our local knit group here in Hawke's Bay. She went to a learn to crochet session at Knit August Nights 2 years ago. Never crocheted before, just went to the basic starter lesson, had the starter lesson, and she then sort of, got the handle of it, picked up the basic stitches, and she's a prolific knitter, very beautiful colour work knitter, stunning colour work knitter. But she thought, okay, this is something a bit different and a bit new. And she then went out, her first crochet project was the mandala blanket. And if you've ever seen the mandala blanket, that is like a serious work of art. And that's what she did. And she did it all in the urban, we had the, what did we call it? Did we call it urban bulky? It was the 12-ply urban that we had several years ago. And she had a lot of that stashed. Little bits. We were just clearing the last of it out. And she did it in that primarily. And which were all bright primary colours. And it looked amazing. And I said to her, hey, you went from the learn to crochet class to this? And she said, yes, but she said these patterns are all written for each round and each feature. So
it's broken out.
it's broken down into tiny little bite-sized chunks. So she said you do the first part, and the beautiful thing about it is that she said you learn how to do this next stitch, whether it be a bobble stitch or whatever it is, and then what you do is you just then repeat that stitch again and again and again and again and again, and that all the design elements, and when I think Sophie's Universe is the same, all the design elements are in that sort of first part of the blanket, and then just replicate it out across the blanket again, but it's almost like a sampler. You've learned how to do it in the during the guts of the blanket at the beginning, got those skills set, and then so when they sort of roll back out and repeat as the blanket grows, it's totally sorted. And she said it was amazing, and I thought, well, I've never thought of it like that. Whereas with a knitted project, you're sort of doing sort of bits and turning around in little components, whereas as she said, it's with this crochet blanket, it was wash and repeat, wash, repeat, wash, repeat, and she said it stuck. She said it was as a beginner, a really brilliant thing to do. So yeah, maybe a challenge for yourself, Ethan, just throwing that out there.
We'll see what happens. I might pick up the crochet hook and see what goes on, but I've got a lot of stuff on the needles at the moment. I'm actually clearing the decks as we speak. I picked back up my star flanket number 2, and I am through 3 stripes now, I think, on the main section, which
oh gosh, that's come along then.
Yeah, no, it's putting me within striking distance of finishing that. I have a cardigan that I started 3 years ago almost that now is getting a collar and is about to get some sleeves. And then I have a little baby bandit origami sleeveless pullover by the one and only Veronique Avery called Orime, which I'm knitting as we speak. That is going to get finished. So I might, as long as I can hold off casting on anything new, I might actually have clear needles by January.
Yeah, well, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, so for me, as I've mentioned, I think I mentioned the other day, I picked up a project I started during lockdown, which is that poncho project, which again is on the round to it plan to get across to you for tech editing. But I thought I need to finish that because, the nice thing about having not picked it up for 6 months and picking it up was like, oh, actually, I forgot how much I really enjoyed this. And I actually was reveling in the cleverness, my little clever trick that I had in that. And I'm like, actually, Marie, that was one of your brighter moments, that was. Doesn't happen very often. But I was like, no, I need to get this finished now. Like I got quite motivated. Yeah. And I remembered why I sort of eased off on it, because I needed another ball of a particular colour. And lo and behold, I actually found the skein of what I was looking for in the work stash that sits in my office. So I've reunited that now with the project, and yeah, that's where I'm at to get that finished off. So I'm actually, from a needle perspective, pretty clear at this stage. So for me, it's quite good. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for coming along with us on this journey a day early. You will be back again, of course, with Breakfast Bourbon on Saturday. What else is happening in the next little bit if people are in Christchurch and want to visit?
Pardon? Ooh, sorry, I missed you there.
No, that's what's happening in HQ. And
what's happening
if anyone wants to pop and visit. I saw something about a Christmas cracker.
There is. We have a Christmas cracker promotion. If you come in and spend $100 in store or more, emphasis on the more, you get to open one Christmas cracker, and inside are a variety of prizes. We actually had our first Christmas cracker go out yesterday, and the prize inside of it was a Vendula mini tote bag that looks like a little wool shop.
Wow.
It was so cute. You can still view it on our story on Instagram. So we have a bunch of crackers left because only one of them has gone out. So get in for that. We also have our Hohi for the Holidays promotion, which includes some curated kits that we put together for different Hohi Locatelli patterns, and a knit along that runs very, very gently until February 13th. The whole idea here is, look, the holidays are busy for everyone, and sometimes we tend to take on projects that aren't necessarily well suited for being busy. But Hohi's patterns are great if you're busy because they're simply written, they produce a beautiful result, and they're normally one page, which sounds like a weird thing, but it means that you can stick a whole pattern into a knitting bag with a project. She has one of the largest design catalogs in Ravelry. I checked. And so you can find anything that you might possibly desire to make for you, for a partner, for a friend, for a loved one that you can't see because of this terrifying global situation. And you can just slowly stitch away at it. We will be having a draw for a sweater quantity of Rebel Destiny, which is the acid dyed Rebel, at the end. So February 13th is the deadline for that. And just because we're not busy enough, Deb is going to be casting on an Agnes this weekend on Breakfast Bourbon, and I am going to be casting on a chain link. And so we are having a two-faced knit along that is running at the same time as the Hohi thing. You can enter these projects as well. So Cast on an Agnes or Cast on a Chain Link by Nora Gone, both from Brooklyn Tweed Winter 2015. And if you get it finished by February 13th, you can chuck it into the draw. You can submit on Facebook, on Instagram, or on Ravelry. All the information is in this week's newsletter, or you can always email me at hq@outlawyarn.com, or just stop in because, we're open.
Perfect. And again, of course, our Stitch in Summer started yesterday with the Legacy special. We have a new special for tomorrow, and because you guys are here, Urban Deluxe. So that's going to be just for one day tomorrow. Look out for those newsletters from us. Those specials run every Tuesday and every Thursday for a day only until the end of January. And on that note, my friend, I think we need to go because you need to.
Yeah.
You have a store to open,
and of course to unlock people to let in.
I know. So we need to do that. It was so great to catch up.
Yeah.
And for everyone here, I will see you again on Monday. Until then, take care.
Bye.
Bye.